Have you ever taken a long break from something and noticed that when you come back to it, it feels so much more refreshing? There's a need in everything we do, especially things we love, like Valve's hit game Team Fortress 2, to step away occasionally. Do we allow ourselves to? Surely, if you're playing consistently for improvement's sake, I get it. That makes sense, kind of. Learning to love the burn and all that, scrims, MG, practice. But improvement doesn't always have to mean grinding the game endlessly. I've been working on a side project about how to practice the soldier class better. It's almost a soldier guide, almost. And that's coming soon, just for anyone who cares. But I've been stuck on this thought while working on the script and editing about what good practice actually means. You know, the tie-in of how our brains process rewards, dopamine. I'm sure you've gotten videos recommended on all of that jazz. For the beyond average Team Fortress 2 player, grinding for hours can eventually turn anything but the game into the dreaded Minecraft 2 weeks experience. If anyone isn't familiar with that, the whole golden age rants, etc. A Minecraft update drops, everyone gets hyped, you and your friends hanging there to rekindle old farts and laughs, and for about 5 days you're all active. You've picked a seed on some deserted island on a jungle biome. One friend's hollowed out a massive dwarf fortress hole in the Earth's core, spending relentless hours mining with only iron tools because a man doesn't use enchantments. Another's already got elytra and after finishing some creeper farm for gunpowder and rockets. They're working on pixel art of a Ruby character, Weiss Schnee, in the skybox just beyond the render distance of the island so everyone can see it. And by day 6, it's just you and me playing, until eventually the server's abandoned. And you think, how did that go by so fast? I'm not going to lead you to the Golden Age question or any other Minecraft questions, but as for that example, I think in a way, TF2 can have and has a similar problem. It has the same cycle. You load up a game, let's say Badwater Basin, right? Classic Badwater. You're stuck on the first point and it's not clicking for you. Maybe it's your team's fault because, yeah, they do suck. Or maybe it's the wave of noobs after a new update drops to see all the new maps and they end up queuing for normal maps. Then there's the traitor stack on the other team, farming kills, and you're tempted to go spawn camp them for cheeky sadist satisfaction of taking your team down. But even that moment of fun fades fast. You capture first and second after spawn camping, and now you're slogging through the third point. Honestly, Badwater's first and second are where the real fun is. I can't think of a single more enjoyable thing than playing soldier behind enemy lines with gunboats on Badwater second, and kind of using this as your proving ground, like a skating ranch, as you drag 2 to 3 players to come fight you and chase you around, hoping to kill the guy that's been annoying them the whole time. After that, it's kind of all downhill, literally and figuratively, until the card explodes. And no, this isn't a video about Badwater, I swear. Speaking of maps where I feel this kind of fatigue, let me talk to you about Mossrock. Consider this my talking about maps I hate for X amount of seconds final. Mossrock just gets under my skin in a way I can't fully explain. It's like playing an NES game with that puke green color palette. It just feels wrong. Originally, it was textured to look like Upward, but when a seasonal update comes out, we all have to adjust the style of the map. And they made it all jungly for Jungle Inferno, and now it's off. I know people love to bash on newer TF2 maps with typical chud opinions like, oh, it doesn't fit the game style, but that's not what I'm going for this time. I mean, I like some of the maps from Jungle Inferno, I do, and Enclosure, for example, its recent update changed a few things and almost made it playable for me. But Mossrock, I just can't. It's like that cursed banana map that Star played on. Something about it makes me want to just leave instantly. I won't even queue for it. And if I ever end up seeing a texture from it, or if its recognizable facade enters my eyesight, I leave instantly. How do we fight this? That feeling? That brings me to the core idea I kind of want to talk about. What do you do when TF2 just doesn't click? Like when you're accidentally queued for 2 Fort when you wanted Upward or Swiftwater, and you're stuck in this slow, frustrating, capture the flag grind. Do you bail? Do you speed cap just to end the match, or do Do you lean into the chaos? Sometimes I think you have to slow down and look at the digital environment. Yes, reflect on the stereotypes, the absurdity, the ridiculousness of the match you're in. Even if you're someone serious and grindy about the game, maybe your team's all noobs. Maybe there's a sentry nest camping intel. Instead of raging, flip the experience on its head. Find something or think of something entertaining about the present madness in the game. And I'm not saying this works every time, but when you stop chasing stomps or grinding stats, and you start noticing the small, weirdly enjoyable parts of the game that you kind of pushed yourself away from, you can hang up this grind occasionally and recline into the parts of the game you used to. It's about enjoying the match, that Reggie quote, "If it's not fun, why bother," right? This kind of brings me to the dopamine paradox we see with other things. Dopamine is often called the molecule of more. It's what keeps you grinding, searching for that next win. But as neuroscientists have pointed out, dopamine is not about happiness. It's about the pursuit of it. Think of dopamine like a charismatic but unethical salesman. It constantly pitches you new goals but doesn't care about your satisfaction once you achieve them. So when you feel burnt out in TF2, it's not because you're bad at the game or the game itself is dull and has changed. It's because your brain's wiring pushes you to chase fleeting highs without pausing to reflect. The solution is to switch gears. Instead of stacking dopamine by grinding, talking trash, pulling off kill streaks, the good old fun, focus on slower, more fulfilling experiences and let these other things come naturally. Take that frustrating 2-fort match as a challenge. Find some way to shoot yourself in the foot. How can you turn the grind into something enjoyable without just chasing stats without thinking about it? Another lens we can apply here is the spiral. In many spiritual and philosophical traditions, the spiral symbolizes both progression and return, moving forward while revisiting the same ground on a higher plane. When we talk about managing time, it's easy to fall into repetitive loops of behavior, like endlessly queuing in casual for TF2 pubs, and expecting a different experience each time. But by reflecting on each session and adjusting our approach, we can transform the spiral into growth. If you often find yourself mindlessly queuing for matches after bad match over and over again, consider planning something meaningful instead. Keep a short list of things you genuinely enjoy, like playing a different class. If you're playing the same class over and over again, wanting a certain experience, instead of allowing the game to choose for you, like flowing water. You might know what I mean. If you want to play demo and spawn camp for sadistic pleasure, like I do when I enter this rut, but the enemy team has fresh installs that have 2 sentries guarding spawn instead of the point for some magical reason, you can see it as a challenge, but fat chance, right? That's if you're bored. And if you see there's already 3 snipers, unless it's a fun gimmick like everyone running the classic, something silly, there is such a present meta with what's good in TF2 and what's not. Like, using stock on scout or stock on demo. Change it up a little bit to spice things up. Variety, right? I don't see people doing this enough anymore. Simply stepping away from the game entirely, or stepping away from present narratives of how you used to play the game or how you currently play the game. It's this difference between being trapped in a loop and evolving upward that can really make you feel better. Of course, there's always the option of, touching grass, as everyone used to say, and as does. For the average gamer, I'd imagine this isn't a problem. You just boot up Madden with your friends, or, Call of Duty with your friends. You can't eat Oreos every day, but when you come back after taking a break, the game feels fresh again. And when you start that rekindling experience up, in certain ways, it can even be rejuvenating for the experience of Team Fortress 2. For me, that's where the magic of the game lies. Not in beating your cocky MG friends or winning a pug money match, but in those rare golden moments where everything aligns naturally. The perfect pub, Badwater second, or the Legacy Dust Bowl third first hold. Each Uber exchange is such a natural back and forth tug of war. You surely get what I mean, and you're reminded of why you fell in love with the game in the first place. Do you have a perfect pub experience you remember? Some match of the game that, when you think about the video game Team Fortress 2, it's the first thing that comes to mind, the defining match that makes you think, this is my favorite game, I'd love to hear it down below in the comments. As always, take care and beware.